Greetings, dear magnificent, eternal, divine being. I acknowledge you. I know who you are because I know who I am. And I know also what we're not because we can all make up a lot of what we're not, thinking that's what we are. But it's real simple and yet profound and the greatest that there is possible. See, I always said choose the topmost possible for yourself. People all thought it was big stuff here that, no, that's what you need, but it's really you. My topic, your life beyond death. Your life beyond death. All right? Tell you my progress. I would share with you what I know of my own research for myself, and I always do share that with you. Is that when I really didn't like to read books much. I do a lot of reading. I was very much more of a participatory person. You know, music, sports, theater, entrepreneurial, service, stuff, doing stuff. Okay, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it wasn't until in the library at the high school that Newport Beach, California, that I found this book about reincarnation. I went, ooh, what is that? Oh, good, because everybody's afraid of dying, but a lot of people would just forget about it, and that's what everybody does. And after a while, you just all agree. I guess we do that, so you better get used to it. And then you gotta, how can you? People say, how can I control my stuff? And I'll control my family after I'm gone with what they do with all the money I leave them and all the stuff. It just goes go on, and then this is it, and all this stuff, and the pain and the suffering, being in a box down there in the ground. All these kind of things. So I started reading up, and I started to get interested in reading a little bit. Yeah, because see, you're going to read if there's something you want to read about that's interesting, because we're taught the language, you see. And the thing is, when we start getting into the language and taught the language, we start using the language to try and figure out what's going on rather than trusting our own inner guidance. So how you get your soul back, you have to start trusting your inner guidance again, and trusting your inner self. And you'll look back and you'll see, because hindsight's always 20/20, that those times you did not trust your inner guidance, it was conflict, there was trouble, there was problems. But see, when we're living in the mystic, in the land of the divine, in the divine being, we get to witness and enjoy all of the gifts of the divine. And we are eternal beings, so we live fearlessly, in our own knowingness and beingness and our own experience, and are able then to manifest what we need or want in order to do our work, you see, which is the endeavoring for the welfare of all living entities, including animals, you see. So, your life beyond death. Okay. So then I got into that, and I got a little bit more into that, and I started studying metaphysics a little bit more, and that, getting more about knowing who I am, little by little by little by little, you see. And yet all of those made changes in my world, because my consciousness was changing, all right? And so then as I went more and more into that, and there were certain things, but still the fears were there and the doubts were there and all of this. And when I left my television ministry and congregation in San Diego, California, in the middle of the 80s, it was because there was so much missing, and my spiritual life was always most important to me, more important than things or what other people thought or whatever, was to really do and honor my own spiritual path, because you have a barometer. You do know. You know when you're off and when you're on, and when you get a taste of the divine, of the precious and the loving, and how magnificent everything operates in a organic, not just organic, that's here, but in a who we really are beyond definition. So anyway, Then I also did Robert Monroe's work and his Far Journeys, excellent book, really. Start looking at the astral plane and also the different dimensions, different planes that people go when they leave their bodies. And that was fascinating too, and I had some interesting experiences. I went a 7-day retreat there and got to meet Robert Monroe and such, and really interesting work. And now, when I really started to get more into it was when I started getting into the Bhagavad Gita, and I got into the teachings of the Vedas, but the Vaishnava path, which is Bhakti Yoga. And it's love of God is supreme pleasure for the soul, and that means and then the philosophy. There's a philosophy in the teachings which really validated all of what I picked from the teachings of Yeshua, the Essene, and also in some of some of the teachings what was put in the New Testament and such. But I was always looking for gems, and then I found that in metaphysics they would kind of bring all of this kind of stuff together, but it was really also teaching a lot of the Hermetic axioms. And I write about those in my book, Live Your Bliss, and how you also can give you a clue as to the divine reality, because any kind of an overlay, any kind of a virtual reality, so to speak, or any kind of a copy or such, has to have a source. Just like even a hologram has to have a source, an original or real. And so I like the word realize. That means to have real eyes, to perceive the divine behind everything, and also to perceive also the reality, just like you could perceive what's going on or what's happening. And yet, if you stay with what we talked about, an equal eye, an equal vision, you perceive and know, but you're not reacting always to the reflections, because then that's causing you to basically consume yourself, because you're basically eating yourself up that way. And that's what causes then the regeneration of the thing. So to own your power and you get your power back, it's to realize, and after I did that, then there was also somebody else, the Journeys of the Soul, and that sort of thing. It's very interesting, very good. But it's talking about how, like, people between lives. So we know, and then from so many stories that people give, and I've read them, and we studied them, and I've had like some out of the body experience where I was talking to a couple of friends, and all of a sudden I'm in my friend Sonia's body, looking out of her eyes at my body and my friend. I'm going, whoa! And then I was back. So, yeah, that was fascinating. I had levitated. I tripped off of a temple in the Yucatan, going straight down like that. I said no, and I pulled and went up, and now I'm in a bubble of suspended animation going rah, and I'm able to bring my whole body back down into just this knee that we used to beat up all the time, because that's the masculine side, and then getting the feminine side weaker all the time and in pain, as I can tell, because the body you're expressing through at this time. Okay, so you are life. Number one, you got to get that. Life doesn't happen to you. This isn't life. This is a movie. This is nature. This is earth. This is whatever it is. This is what it is. Okay, and so when we perceive also, and get the feeling like in nature of the integrity, and we could be in that kind of an environment as much as possible, then we start listening more and more into who we really are, and start to notice that as you go back, that you've always been. And I did a lot of past life work. That was good. Did a lot of breath work, all the years of that, and probably have I have a few honorary PhDs in that, not PhDs, but Doctor of Divinity and humane letters and oh my goodness. But you know what it really is? It isn't in that kind of a thing. It's the value is in a teaching, is if you get it, if you actually realize it and you activate that. So your life beyond death is, first of all, to get that you're not going anywhere when you leave your body. You're going to be right there where you are. And you're always right there with yourself. And I'm just sharing my experience and what I have realized and know. Now, you do not go to the light in the tunnel when you leave your body. And there'll be probably handlers or helpers, and there's a pull. You're going to feel there's love, and and it may not be this way. So just know also it may not be this way at all. And because what tends to happen also, what we get back from others or anything, because you look at who are the people publishing everything, where is it coming from, and what's their intention, what's their agenda, and what are they conspiring to do with others, you see, because everybody's doing that. So you'd have to begin to also start to notice what actually makes spiritual logical sense and understanding. So that, what do? Well, this is the thing you want to know. The stronger you become in your spiritual self now, the stronger you have built a powerhouse for yourself to stay, and the more you have realizations and activations of your divine self and in that being, that's where you're going to be. And then as you make your connection as you do with the divine, and there's some great teachings and such of the beauty of the divine from those who are actually experiencing, but remember that's still in words and sounds, and there's also people can change those things and the printing and all that. So the ultimate then judge of all that is how that you feel in yourself, how that not how you think or how the thinking's making you feel, but it has to do with your own knowing. So yes, you are life, and death is a dropping, what they call it, of a particular state of mind or a consciousness of a physical reality, of a dense material with a lower frequency. Then you get into the astral, or that you still have your consciousness, your mind, and the intelligence, and the false ego, because this is according to the ancient Vedas, travels with you as you transmigrate from body to body, and this is all done in the mind, which is amazing. And when we start to get that and how it operates and what's going on, we then take back our reactions to everything going on, knowing what is going on. You stay centered in yourself, you see, in the temple of the living God. So you are life beyond death. And so the more you practice being centered in who you are and being fully that, instead of trying to be unconscious and not even want to be around or know what's going on or happening, hey, that might be the scariest thing that there ever was, is to take ownership of what happens to you, you see. Because if you don't, someone else will and is. Own yourself.